We have a presentation by Jamestown Community College and Jamestown Area YMCA Community Wellness Center by JCC President Dr. Daniel DeMark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the chairman said, I am Daniel DeMark, president of Jamestown Community College, and presenting with me this evening is Mr. John Barber, interim CEO of the Jamestown Area YMCA. It has been 6 years since I've made a presentation in front of the legislature. It's been a while. It's good to be back, and hopefully you'll like what we have to share. John and I and our respective teams, and a couple of them are with us this evening, we are so grateful for the opportunity to share with you what we believe is a very exciting project, and we invite your support. We believe it is a logical, sensible, and highly practical endeavor. This project is not just a partnership, but a unique collaboration between two organizations with complementary missions. A year ago, our separate projects would have costed an estimated $70 million. However, as partners, our combined project now totals approximately $45 million. We are confident that this partnership has the potential to make a significant and positive impact on our community, the YMCA, and JCC. What John and I will share with you, next slide please, is the scope of the project cost, and the potential impact. And I'm assuming that we will have questions at the end, so if you'll hold your questions, we'll work our way through this and then open it up for anything you'd like to ask. Next slide, please. All right, so this visual you're looking at, let's start on the right-hand side. The space that is gray is the existing physical education complex on the JCC campus. It is an old building, the most utilized building on campus, and while we have fixed and repaired portions of the building over time, it is in need of a more comprehensive renovation. On the opposite side, what you see in the blue would be the new YMCA. And in between connecting the existing space and the new space with the YMCA, which is a two-story building, that yellow space is shared space that will be shared by the YMCA and the college. It includes, for example, 2 gymnasiums, a new 6-lane pool, and other spaces that both of us believe we can take in new directions and really build on what the Y already does and what the college does in new and creative ways. The green space in the upper right-hand corner would be new space as well for the physical education complex. And so the new space is represented in the colors there, the blue, the yellow, and the green. The total amount of that new space is approximately 70,000 square feet. Okay, then breaking that down, roughly the blue and the green are half, and the yellow is the other half. Next slide, please. All right, so what you couldn't see in the first slide that's important to show you here, on the back side of the building are 2 turf fields. The one on the right behind the existing building is the current grass field that would be turfed, and then perpendicular to that field would be a second soccer turf field. Right, that would cause us to remove the tennis courts and the parking lot on that side of the property to put in these new fields. The field on the right would have an overlay of softball. The field on the left would have an overlay of baseball. So we would be able to offer all of the team sports we offer now in this space. That's a 30,000-foot view of what the project entails. Obviously, there's a lot of detail involved in the actual space and how it's going to be utilized. Next slide, please. All right, in terms of the cost, I said earlier that the project is roughly $45 million. Of that amount, 24 of that is the college's cost, and the balance would be the YMCA's cost. You can see the rough categories breaking down what that cost looks like in terms of the renovations, the athletic fields, the contingency cost, FF&E. Again, a lot more detail underneath this, obviously. But again, the 30,000-foot view is what we're showing here. Next slide, please. When I tease out of that the college cost, which is partly what we're asking you for tonight in terms of supporting the project, where the financial aspect would come in, I think most of you know that a capital project for the college, we get 50% of our funding on a capital project from SUNY in the state of New York. And then historically, the remaining 50% is local funding. And what we've done over time is the county provides us 25%, and the college is responsible for raising the remaining 25% of that balance. So again, when you look at the numbers, if our half of the project is roughly $24 million, the state's portion would be $12 million. We're asking you to support to the tune of $6 million, and the college would be responsible for the balance $6 million. John can speak to the cost of the Y project and how they're looking at funding their project, and then we'll get into the impact. Okay? John?
Well, thank you all for having me. Pleasure to be here and to be a part of this transformational project. It was 1929 when the YMCA downtown facility was originally built, and actually the Y's been around our area since the 1880s. Can you imagine an organization that's been along that long? And the only way that we've been here for that length of time is because the YMCA and its areas of focus have been resilient. We've also been able to pivot at different times to make sure that the Y was being responsive to the community and what it needed in the times in which it was there. But our focus areas right now of youth development, healthy living, and social responsibility, those are the three things that the Y is focused in on doing. And with this project, what we're looking to do is a project that began in 1929 with a building that's almost 100 years old. We have a historic opportunity to be able to set a course for the YMCA in Jamestown and its impact for a whole nother generation. And I've had the privilege of working on this project with gentlemen, both old and some young, that have a heart for this project because they actually started at the Y when they were young themselves. So financially, the Y has about a $20 million that we're looking at, that we are going to be looking to raise for this project. And we're going to be looking to a combination of sources. Currently, right now, we are just on the cusp of submitting a major federal grant that actually would benefit both JCC and Y in terms of our fundraising, with a federal grant through the EPA that actually also would bring some transformative elements for other areas of the city related to some environmental impact, related to lead abatement, and some extension of our walkways and paths that are available in Jamestown. But in addition, the Y will be looking to secure resources through local foundations. We will be appealing for other state funds, federal funds, to be able to fill out the rest of our portion of the project in order to have it funded. We were about $5 million along the way in the $33 million project that Daniel mentioned. And even though that stalled, I think what we have the opportunity to do here is actually something that is even more transformative, something that's collaborative, and something that brings connections that becomes better together. And if we wanted to move to some of the benefits on the next slide. So almost invariably, when people start to look to the Y, and I sent along with your packet some resources about the impact of the Y and what we measure, people find something that they didn't even know the Y did. Because part of that's maybe because we didn't tell the story. The other part is there's so much that the Y does. It's hard to capture. But here we have the impact actually of what happens when YMCA and JCC are actually teamed up together. For the college, it's clear. It's modernizing a facility so that they're exactly where they need to be in terms of attracting new students, and that the students that come and faculty have access to childcare. You saw that childcare wing. For us as the Y, that means we're going to be expanding childcare in the region. We have a child care center at Heritage. This is set to expand that number by at least 40 slots. And knowing the gaps of child care in the region, this presents a tremendous opportunity. The Y it focuses on accessibility for all, meaning that at the Y right now, people aren't turned away because of lack of payment. In fact, we have a whole structure of income-based pricing that allows people to be able to access the Y regardless of their income, and to be able to access its services and what it does. Now, of course, the building of the Y and membership to the Y is just one aspect of how the Y is influencing. Many of our programs are actually free or very low cost, and it pivots people both into our building, but also the Y is extensively outside the facility, with this facility just being a base of operations. The YMCA served over 80,000 meals last year. That includes in after-school programs and in summer sites. This includes partners and organizations that we all know and love, including like the Boys and Girls Club, the library, parks programs, meal programs headed into various areas of southern Chautauqua County, including Frewsburg, Falconer, Jamestown. Last summer, can you imagine, in 10 weeks, this is just a few weeks ago, our meal team served over 35,000 meals in the course of 10 weeks of the summer. Phenomenal. But these things happen because of the base that happens from the Y. In addition, some of the things that we're really excited about is the potential for workforce readiness that can happen. This is already a focus that we have. We have a teen center at the Y that reaches over 300 students a year. And it has a steady focus on preparing students so that they can be ready. This is both soft and hard skills for the workforce. In fact, those 80,000 meals I told you about half of our team is made up of teens that are in a work experience, working with our youth professionals to be able to be part of that team. Now, can you imagine that with a teen center on the campus of JCC, with students beginning to get into their focus and eyes whenever they come to the Y, perhaps their next step, perhaps their future, perhaps even access to things that are on campus that also are transformative, and being able to prepare them so that they're ready for the workforce in a way that they never have been before. It not only could it amplify what JCC is trying to attempt to do in terms of recruiting students and having an impact, the WISE programs itself will be supplemented and be enhanced. So this is a monumental program. But we talk about kids, but really one of the major reasons why we need a new facility is when you walk into the downtown Y, and any of you who have been there, it's an older facility, but it's been cut up. They've done a lot with it. It's a well-built building, no doubt about it. This building was built to last, but for our aging population and for anybody with any kind of mobility concerns at all, you're walking up 5 steps just to get into the building. If you're going to go to the pool and take part in a water exercise class, you're going to walk up those 5 steps, and then you're going to walk down another flight of steps to go to a locker room, and then you're going to walk up another 3 steps to get into a pool. And so we obviously have a community with high needs for access that includes seniors, but it also includes folks with certain kinds of physical disabilities. And this is going to allow us to make a facility that can be accessible and promote physical health for the entire community. And opportunities then to be able to expand our services and access to more than we have before. And part of the thing that I'm most excited about is the Y actually is involved in a variety of chronic disease prevention programs. And so that means that in addition to being an accessible program, the Y has programs like we have a walk with ease program that's meant to address those that are dealing with the onset of arthritis. We have a blood pressure self-monitoring program. The Y has capacity for us to run a diabetes program. So when I start to rattle these things off, if you were to think for yourself in your shoes as a legislator of the needs that you encounter as you're working with your constituents, I'll just ask you a question. Does any of the things that the Y is looking to address sound like it resembles some need that you encounter with the people that you're with and the people that you're serving? And so I think it does. I think it provides a lot of the things actually that the legislature has actually had some plans to be able to address. And the Y and JCC together can actually do those things and address those needs.
Thank you, John. I should have added, talking about the age of the building, that next year JCC will celebrate its 75th anniversary. And Jamestown Community College was the first community college in the state of New York to award an associate's degree in 1950. So it'll be a significant milestone for us next year. Be nice to be able to roll this out as part of that announcement as we as we take shape with what the 75th will bring. Just a follow-up comment also on what this means to the college, an example. You know, the programs we offer, one of the things we're working toward as the college evolves and really is trying to figure out where do we need to be in creating those in-demand programs for our students leading to a career. One of the things that we're working on is saying to our graduates that every graduate that leaves the college will leave with two things. They already leave now with a credential, right? They leave with that degree, whatever they're going to do with it. But we want to add to that and say, you will leave with a credential, but you will also leave with a relevant experience that you can put on your resume. This partnership with the Y creates yet another opportunity when we get to that point where we can tell our students in various programs there are opportunities right here on campus to build that experience, to put on your resume when you leave, before you leave. We're going to pause there. I think we're to the question slide. Yes, we are. Happy to take your questions.
Yes, sir. Is United Way, are they merging with you, United Way?
No.
They're not no part of it? They're not doing anything?
No, we have lots of partners on campus. We don't have the United Way yet, so we'll see.
Is that in conversation?
No,
Okay, all right.
no. Yes, sir.
Dan, what's the student enrollment currently at JCC?
We are still climbing our way back to pre-pandemic numbers, but we are in 6 semesters of finding our way back. When I get asked that question, I need to be careful in how I answer it because usually the person asking, they're focused on the traditional student who's on campus, right? And while that's an important number, that only represents about 1/3 of who we serve any given year. All right, so there's 3 categories. There's the question I think you're asking, what's the number on campus? We are just above 2,000, getting ready for the spring semester, and the number continues to climb. The other 2 numbers that are important, though, are on the workforce side. We are seeing more growth and faster growth than we are on the traditional credit side. Those numbers are north of 2,500. We were at roughly 4,000 during the pandemic. So that number continues to climb faster than the traditional student population. And by the way, we don't get funded for those programs. So that puts us in a position where we have to go out and find grant monies to support students the same way we do in the traditional programs. The third number are our high school students who are taking dual enrollment courses. That number has been steady even through the pandemic. This last year, we had 2,305 students in 38 high schools taking 1 or more courses with us in Chautauqua, Cattaraugus, and Allegheny counties. So the complete picture in terms of unduplicated headcount for us is roughly 6,500 to 7,000. That's what we serve in a given year. 1/3 of that number is the traditional student on campus.
Okay. Well, Dan, just a follow-up question, but these figures are down from 5 years ago?
They're down from the pandemic.
Mainly because of the demographics, right? Less 18 to 20-year-old people going to, well, they could go to college.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why we can't get back to the numbers we were at in terms of enrollment before the pandemic for a variety of reasons. And one of the things I think we're seeing in the numbers continuing to climb are those students who stopped out that are finally ready to come back. We're seeing more of those students who already graduated high school and they're finally coming back.
Okay.
Lots of other reasons, though, and I'll just share one other example. Last summer, we introduced a new program in health and wellness, the Direct Support Professional. As a result of that new program, we saw our highest enrollments last summer than we've seen in 10 years. So another thing that we need to be working on constantly is the mix of programs. Are we offering the right programs that are in demand, that pay those good paying jobs?
Okay, thanks.
Yes, sir.
One for you. If this becomes a reality, what's going to happen to the old YMCA building?
Yeah, that's a really good question. One thing, first of all, to make sure to note is right now at the current YMCA on our 3rd and 4th floor, we have housing that's HUD subsidized housing for folks with a physical disability. That's actually part of a 40-year agreement that the YMCA made with HUD, and we're prepared to make sure that we stand by that commitment, which has about a decade left on it. The way that things would work with that building, we do right now, we would intend to have this new facility replace our current member service areas. So that's your pools, the gymnasium, even the teen center and youth programs. Those we would no longer operate out of that older facility. Now, the options for what we're going to do with that facility are one of two things. One is, in this process, we're identifying community and collaborative partners, which is altogether possible that for the sake of their services, our space and our resources on those floors are really suitable to the work that they do. The other is that somebody is actually going to want to be able to purchase that building for a future, and they're actually going to take on even, or have the Y continue to manage the housing until the end of the 40 years is complete, at which point they could continue or do something different. But those are kind of the two pathways that I see. But all of them continue to have the Y, at least with some impact in the form of the housing that occurs on the third and fourth floor. But definitely we would be looking to consolidate our operations as far as membership and these resources.
I have a two-part question. Is one, how many of the people who come to the YMCA are like from downtown Jamestown? And if it's a majority, or how are you expecting to serve the people who are from downtown Jamestown at this new facility?
Sure. That's actually a really good question. And so this new facility actually would not be located downtown, of course, but it would actually be located right in the middle of some neighborhoods that we actually serve youth. In fact, it's just a block away from Ring School, where we already operate an after-school program and summer program for kids. So we're there 12 months out of the year already, a couple months away from that location. Now what we will be is we'll be a little less central from where we're located, meaning the other side of the city, there will be a little bit more distance. We do serve the wide usage of our facility does come from folks that live in and around Jamestown. About 50% of our membership comes from that area. But our membership, and I think we all know this from living in the area, because of the nature of our area, we do have members that we pull from much further than that as well. And actually, we have a Lakewood Y facility right now, and our two facilities are actually located relatively closely compared to in other national settings. That the co-location of two facilities as close as we have them is actually really unusual. And I can't tell you how often I've heard that people from a national Y came in and said, why do you have two facilities so close to each other? But this actually in some ways would actually balance our geographical spread and allow us actually to be between closer to the Falconer region and we would look to continue to have our Lakewood location. And the one thing that we see in terms of usage, which hopefully will help with this, is at our Lakewood Y, which actually already is even more distant than where this facility would be, 30% of our monthly users of that facility are actually linked to our Jamestown Y. And so already we're seeing our members utilizing the benefits of both of our facilities. And this, even more than the current, is likely to cause members to have features that they're looking out for in both facilities. And the place where we're looking to make sure we have a firm connection, especially is for our teens that are accessing their facility really close to downtown, because we're a block or two away from the local high school. And so one of the things we're doing right now is to begin, number one, we want to talk to our teens about, many of them live in that neighborhood, but what about the ones that don't? Are they going to be able to get there? Two, we've had some conversations even with carts, which actually have a bus run that runs right by there. And along with our EPA grant, we've actually included a portion that would allow us, at least for the initial, if we were awarded, to be able to subsidize funding so that kids could actually have punch cards so they can get to the Y right out of school. There's questions still to be answered. But we're looking for ways to make sure those kids have access.
Another component worth mentioning is Camp Oniasa. We have Professor John O'Brien with us, who's run Camp Oniasa for a long time. There are connections that have been there historically with providing opportunities for our students to work during the summer. But this also creates potential new opportunities for us to connect to that facility as well. Yes. Another question over here?
Great idea, and I was a member of the Lakewood Y, and in the city, it used to be hard to find parking, so I think this is a great idea. Possible future of North County Y someday? On the spot.
One step at a time, but let's, but the Y's for all. And it's clear that the resources of the Y, there's nothing really that separates north from south in terms of the needs in the community and the way the Y could address those.
Okay.
So far, all the questions have come from this side of the room. Are there any on this side? No? Yes, sir.
Over here, they're not really questions, they're just kind of comments or thoughts that I've had. And I'm just gonna be on the record, I am gonna support this endeavor because it's just your first step. You have a lot of work to do on your own, beyond our $6 million that we're gonna obligate to this project or whatever. But John, you did address some of my concerns was, you're moving, out of downtown, the key cog, and now we're moving outside of the city. Sounds like you have some ideas on how to address that, but it's always a concern when you take a driver from one of our biggest city in the county, and you're gonna take that driver and you're gonna move it out of the main key. But sounds like you have you're on top of it. So I commend you for that. Dan, we've had this conversation before. Legislator from Dunkirk, North County campus is in my district. When this thing came up on the agenda today, this week or whatever, I received several phone calls because, we're given $6 million of taxpayer money towards this project. You have one of your largest unions that have been without a contract for over 5 years, and it doesn't seem like it's getting anywhere. I think you really need to address that issue, and it's, from my understanding, the can's getting kicked down the road. I mean, now's not the time to talk about a union contract, but I have constituents that work for you, that live in my district. They're saying, I'm a county taxpayer, and you're gonna give them $6 million of my money, but I haven't had a contract in over 5 years. You need to address that. You need to do that.
Yeah, there's a lot more to that
I
story.
understand there is. I've heard your side and I've heard the other side. You need to sit down and you need to hash this out. 5 years is ridiculous and it's too long.
Yeah.
And
I would-
it's tough for me to tell the people that vote for me, they're telling me, I don't think it's a good idea to give them $6 million of my money.
I hear you.
Please address it.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Are there opportunities for revenue to make money, through this project?
Potentially, yes. When we were working on the stadium project, we were also looking at opportunities to bring other venues to that space. We haven't incorporated that thinking into the business plan we share, but it's there. It's an element of moving forward, assuming the project moves forward, where we think there could be potential new revenue generators, yes.
For Mr. Barber, so your portion of the commitment would be $20 million. You said that you're working on an EPA grant, or a grant that would benefit both you and JCC. How much is that grant for?
So, so if we were successful, it's a funding source that would either be 10 million or 20 million in total. Now, this is a different kind of grant. I mean, it's not as if just YMCA and JCC are going with a proposal, because this is actually, it's called a community change grant. And so if we were successful, we actually would have sub-grantees that include other partner organizations that would be scaling out environmental projects. So the actual amount of capital that would come towards this project, if you will, or towards especially the projections that were going. There would be additional costs to building because of some environmental factors that we'd build in. But we would estimate if we were successful at the $20 million mark, about $12 to $14 million would be able to go directly to help support this project. And you can imagine how that would really
Sure.
escalate what we're able to do.
And are you pursuing other grants, or what other avenues are you pursuing to fulfill your portion of the obligation?
Sure. So right now, and this is really, it's part of a joint effort as well, but I mentioned the local foundations that were about $5 million of our previous project. Well, now we're doing a project that's together, and so it's actually the YMCA and JCC together that are reaching out to a variety of local foundation funders that have been faithful supporters, honestly, of both of our institutions for decades. But we have a joint process, and those applications are actually underway right now. Though there's some that we're expecting to report on even in the next month, but some of them will be pending as we go through the next several months. But then it'll be looking to next stages of we do have our project at the federal level. It was passed along. It's the congressionally directed spending. I don't know where it will go, but we have an application out there, but it hasn't been nixed from a potential budget position. It's not been proposed yet, but so we have something there, and then we are anticipating some submissions to the state through a CFA grant.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to comment, because we just having the presentation from the United Ways and to see your collaborative projects, this is just so important for our county, and I wanted to commend you and the United Ways for doing this. This is wonderful.
Yeah, it should be I mean, even though somebody asked about United Way in terms of co-location, but the United Way for us, I mean, what a tremendous presentation. But the United Way, and when everybody supports the United Way, they actually are supporting the Y too, because the Y receives approximately $75,000 in funding to support 3 different programs that we're offering in the community. So everybody that supports the United Way actually supports some of the very initiatives that you're seeing there. And I would expect they would continue to be a great partner of ours.
Yeah, it's a great partnership.
Yes, sir.
Guys, one last question. This $43 million price tag, does JCC have any vacant or underutilized buildings that they could sell possibly to help reduce the cost of this project?
Yes, maybe.
Yes, maybe.
You may have noticed if you've been near campus that our annex building is being abated right now, and we may be putting that on the market for sale soon. So that's a facility that needs attention, but it's not one that we need regardless whether it stands or not. I can't think of any others. I know shortly as I was on my way here, the Cohen property was sold, and I don't know what else was there. But other than those areas, one of the things we've done to address the real estate that hasn't been used, partly as a result of the pandemic, we have more partners on campus than probably we've ever had. And to just give you a couple of examples, if the Y joins, that's great. They'll be our newest partner. This summer, we brought Erie Two Bosse's onto campus at their request and have an arrangement where their LPN program is offered in the Sheldon Center, which is a natural fit for those individuals who want to go on to a nursing program or some other program on campus. We've had the SBDC on campus for 20 plus years. The Sheriff's Academy has been on campus for 45, 46 years. We've got more partners than we've had in a very long time, and we'll continue to pursue partnerships where they make sense. Cornell Cooperative Extension has been on campus for probably 5 years now. We're about to renew the arrangement with them. So that we're making as good a use as we can with the spaces that are usable, and that sometimes is bringing in a partner, it's expanding programs, or in the case of the annex, a facility that's seen its best days. It's time to figure out what we need to do next with that building, and we're working on that now.
Okay, but you do have assets that you might be able to part with to raise revenue to help reduce the cost of this project?
No, I don't think we do. Kathleen, you think of any?
I would agree with you, President DeMartis. We are in the process of investigating selling the annex, but unfortunately that will not bring a lot of money into this project.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, John.
Any other questions? Thank you very much for your time. We appreciate the opportunity to share our project with you. Thank you.